for the future. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the Visual Arts Admissions Information Session. I am Geronda Little, and I am responsible for outreach and recruitment. And so tonight we have with us Darius Hill, who is the chair of the Visual Arts Department, and he is going to talk to you all about the Visual Arts Department, its curriculum, and the audition requirements. So Darius, would you like to start by telling the audience a little bit about yourself as an artist and how long you've been chair of the Visual Arts Department at ASPA? And before you do that, I just want to remind everyone that this session is being recorded. So if you would not like to have your image shown on our website, you're welcome to turn off your camera and join us. So thank you. Take it away, Darius.
Okay. Thank you, Geronda. Will we have a chance for questions and things like that towards the end? All right, fantastic. All right, so I'm Darius Hill, chair of the Visual Arts Department. I'm also a visual artist, a studio artist, and also a graduate of the school as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do, how we do it, and why. And then I'm going to open it up for questions. I'm also going to talk a little bit about our audition process, because I'm sure a lot of you guys want to know about that as well. And I'll try not to talk too long before I get to the questions. I have a tendency to do that. Geronda, I see you smiling. Okay. All right, so here we go. Again, Darius Hill, chair of the Visual Arts Department. About our program, our curriculum. It's a 6-year course of study designed for the highly motivated art student. And that's very important. The highly motivated art student is what this curriculum is designed for. So we're looking for students who, you know, who are taking their art seriously, you know, maybe wanting to take it beyond like a hobby or something like that. And we go from the 7th through 12th grades. In the 7th and 8th grades, it's all about developing a technical proficiency. You know, see the still life, draw the still life. We're also offering, or we're kind of sneaking in some conceptual assignments, some things to get you guys introduced to basic design principles. In the 9th and 10th grades, more of that, only at a much higher level. And we're certainly stepping it up a little bit as far as when it comes to thinking conceptually. By the time you're juniors, we're hoping that you are developing your own voice as an artist. Certainly specific specific assignments. You know, moving from specific assignments of your 9th grade year and open-ended solutions. When we're talking about your junior year, it's going to be focused on studio work. And then by the time you're seniors, it's independent study. Okay, so you're on your own. We treat you like kind of like a professional artist. You know, you're gonna have your own studio space. You're gonna be expected to be motivated, self-motivated, and kind of making stuff on your own. And we'll be there to assist you with your ideas. Okay. At the end of the year, you're going to have a senior show. Our curriculum is designed kind of like a college art school. We use that as a model. And towards the end of your tenure here, just like in an art school or a college or university where you're majoring in art, there's a, like to say, a BFA exhibition that you have to do. Here at this school, you have an exit exhibition that you have to have. At the end of the year, we're evaluating the work and to see if you're allowed to have the show. And then once you have that show, that's your graduation requirement. So no, basically, if you're not allowed to have the exhibition, you don't graduate. So it's kind of it's a very serious thing. So that being said, we don't accept seniors into our program, just to let you know. We think we know you need to have at least 2 years of a kind of like assignment-based instruction before you get to your senior year. So all of that being said, it's easier to get into our department in the 7th and 8th grades. It gets harder, in the 9th and the 10th grades. We do occasionally accept juniors, but it's rare. Okay. After graduation, our kids go to a lot of great places. So the Chicago Art Institute, they end up at, maybe the Cooper Union in New York City, Kansas Art Institute, places like the Rhode Island School of Design, Ivy League institutions, and just institutions, colleges and universities with outstanding art programs. We're very fortunate. Our students are very fortunate to, receive, a great deal of scholarship money and so forth. They're accepted into these institutions. And we're really lucky in that, we've developed really good relationships with these schools. So they are always asking to kind of come down and actually talk about their programs. So, there's some really good access with these places. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about our audition process. It's basically a two-step process, in that the first step or phase is where you're going to submit 3 audition drawings. One drawing of a portrait done in pencil. The second drawing is an ink drawing of your room, basically, and then the other drawing is a drawing in color of maybe some fruit on the table, a basket of fruit or something like that. The portrait the portrait that's in graphite should be maybe someone like a relative, and hopefully you can draw them, live, like right there in front of you. But you can use a photograph. It would be good if you took the photograph yourself. I think that helps. You want to use some good drawing pencils for that. The drawing of your room needs to be in ink. It could actually be an ink pen or Sharpies, something with a fine tip, something like that. And basically what we're looking for there is if you can kind of create this 3-dimensional illusion in a two-dimensional space, on a two-dimensional plane. So, can you make something look spatial, kind of create that illusion of space on a two-dimensional plane. The third drawing is like some fruit, something certainly like a basket, or if you can just like an assortment of different colors, shapes. And that can be in, I don't know, markers, any kind of, it could be painted. You can use color pastel, oil pastels or chalk pastels, stuff like that. Okay. What you want to definitely try to stay away from any kind of new drawing materials that you haven't used before. And you want to do a really good job with these drawings. Take your time. It may not be what you usually draw. It may not be what you consider fun or something like that, but you want to take these 3 drawings seriously, because that's what we need to see to be able to invite you for the next phase of the audition process. So, and that's, if you're invited, you're gonna bring a portfolio with about 22 pieces. In that portfolio, we're gonna wanna see mostly drawings from life. What does that mean? Basically, you setting up a still life or setting up some subject matter and actually drawing, that subject matter. Making decisions like whether to zoom in or to zoom out, or turn your paper horizontally or vertically. We want to see where your head is when it comes to creating a work, especially work, creating a drawing where you can actually see the subject matter and you had a hand in actually setting it up. The drawings or the work that's in your portfolio, it'd be great if there's a variety of drawing materials used, or you can certainly put paintings in that portfolio. And you can certainly show us some things in a portfolio that you're mostly interested in. For example, if you're into photography, we want to see that, okay? If you're into cartooning, we would like to see that as well. You just don't want to make your entire portfolio filled with that work. The most important part of that portfolio is for us to see your drawing skills, okay? And so if you're already into drawing things from life and that's what you do, and that's your favorite thing to do, then yes, it's awesome. It'd be awesome if it's okay to have a portfolio filled with that kind of thing. But if you're interested, like I said, in making sculpture, for example, please show us some of that work, but just don't make it the majority of the portfolio. Again, drawing is hugely important, period, in art, but certainly for us to see, so we can make some good decisions when it comes to audition time. I think that's what I have. I think some of you guys, and again, I don't see any faces and all, but I suspect some of you were here at the last open house, or you've seen some footage on the internet as far as me talking about the program. A typical day, is, in the mornings into the early afternoons, you'll be working in your core academic courses. And then at the end of the day, around 1:45, if you are a 9th to 12th grader, you'll be working from 1:45 to about 4:35 or something like that. If you're 7th or 8th grader in the art department, you'll be working from 1:45 to about 3, a little bit after 3. Okay. So you have that really nice chunk of time at the end of the day to focus on the work, and it's pretty cool. So that's the thing that really sets us apart from other schools. The other thing that sets us apart, I meant to mention, I wanted to mention this earlier, but since now I remember, is that your instructors, your art teachers are practicing artists. And so we're once I leave here tonight, especially, I'll be headed to my studio to kind of get some work done. I have a couple exhibitions coming up very soon. One actually in this space that I'm kind of talking to you from right now. In our gallery, we have a really, really cool gallery that we use for professional exhibitions and also student exhibitions. We have a faculty show coming up at the end of January next year. So, and all of our exhibitions are open to the public if that's something that you're interested in. So just check our website for times and dates. All right, Joanna, how did I do there?
That was great. You gave us a lot of information. Can you talk about the critique process and how students engage in critique in a class, for instance?
Sure. Good. That's a good question. So we, our curriculum is kind of based on, it's a fine art curriculum. And in the fine art world, as far as teaching, critique is a very important part of that process. In my opinion, it's just as important as the actual making of the work. But we sit around and we talk about the work that was produced by each of the students. The students take part in those discussions. Each critique is a little bit different based on the teacher and their approach. Me personally, believe it or not, Geronda, I prefer the students to do most of the talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think, and I like to tell my students that their critiques is going to be one of the things that you're going to miss the most once you graduate, or once you leave a school where you have them, because you're going to miss feedback from peers or folks who have a similar stake in this whole process of learning and getting better. You're going to miss that. And it's one of the things I miss most, are my peer group critiques. That's one of the things I miss most as a professional artist now.
Do you find that the students during critique, they may bring up some of the information that you perhaps taught them in a previous class? They may talk about the elements of art, or tell us what goes on in critique, perhaps.
Yeah, no, yes, good question. So yeah, basically the nuts and bolts. I mean, basically a critique is, first of all, understanding that art is about communication, okay? It's the artist communicating ideas to the viewer, okay? In order to be an effective communicator, we believe that you need to, kind of understand, where the viewer is coming from. And so it's not just making work and just putting it out there and just kind of, that's it. Whatever happens, happens. I mean, the artist has some kind of control, and the more information you have about moves that you're making on the canvas, or moves that you're making visually, period, the more information you have about how others are responding to this, the more the effective communicator you're going to be. And so critiques are really these cool, dynamic meetings where ideas and thoughts and opinions are just kind of flying around, and everybody's kind of soaking this up and using it in whatever way they feel like they need to use it for, future pieces or just whatever. And it's just, I think, a lot of learning takes place during that time. Again, I'll say, just as much learning is happening during a critique, potentially, as making actual work.
Good, good, good. Okay, well, let's open it up to see if the parents or students have questions for us tonight. Feel free to either unmute yourself or you may print your question in the chat.
Okay, and you're gonna read those chat
Yeah, I'll
questions?
read those. If someone has a question in the chat, I'll be happy to read it. Otherwise,
Perfect.
people can ask their questions as long as they unmute themselves. Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
My name's Kathleen. I am very interested in sculpting, but I won't be able to do that for my portfolio because I do not have the materials to start doing that. If I get into the school, will I be able to start trying to sculpt?
Sure. Okay, that's a good question. Sure. If you haven't really done a whole lot with sculpture, then I would try to stay away from putting that kind of work in your portfolio. Because you want to put your best, out there. Okay. So you want to use materials, mediums, media, whatever that you feel like you're strong in, and that's going to show you in the best light. When you get here, then yeah, we'll take care of some of that other stuff. You are going to be introduced here at ASPA to probably a lot of new stuff, certainly new ideas, new ways of thinking, and a lot of different materials and techniques and things like that. You asked a good question because a lot of people think you really need to be good at a lot of that stuff before you get into the school, and no. Drawing, getting back to the drawing, we feel is like the basis of all fine art. It's the thing that's like the foundation. It's the core. It's very important. In other words, if you think about it, I always like to say a painting is just drawing with paint. A sculpture is just drawing in the third dimension, and so forth. You can use that logic in just all over the fine art realm, and so drawing is going to be important in that portfolio. If you're interested in sculpture, you will have an opportunity at ASPA to tackle that. You'll be taking a lot of sculpture classes.
There's another question, and maybe you can reiterate or re-explain that you only occasionally accept 11th graders. And
Yes.
so that means that, well, I'll let you explain it. I don't have to explain it.
Sure. Okay, so I kind of went over that, and that, we go from the 7th through the 12th grade, right? So if you're trying to get in as a junior, we need to feel that you have enough skills, you have enough whatever we feel it takes to hang in there with students who, a lot of them have been there since the 7th and 8th grades, right? So just, that's just one thing right there. Everything we're doing in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grades is to prepare you for your junior and your senior year, okay? And so if you miss out on a big chunk of that, then it's going to be very difficult for you to catch up and we don't want to set anyone up for failure. So that's our logic there, and that's what makes it a little bit easier to get in your in the lower grades. It pains me, to hear from time to time, students who waited to apply, like they waited years before they felt like they should apply. And when that happens, usually it just kind of made it a lot more difficult for themselves. So I certainly encourage you guys to apply early,
And students can apply, as Mr. Hill mentioned, as early as 6th grade for their 7th grade year, or they can reapply. Say if they don't get in the first time around, they can wait and apply again when they're in 7th grade for 8th grade. You can apply as many times as you like, but
Yes.
10th grade is the last time that we allow students to apply for their 11th and 12th grade year, because as Mr. Hill mentioned, you have to be here for your 11th and 12th grade year in order to graduate. There's another question about, can you do digital art as well?
Yes. So going back to, in those, the junior year and your senior year, where you're taking a lot of studio courses, especially as independent study in your senior year, during your senior year. And to kind of get you ready for that, you're taking a lot of studio courses, like I said, with, maybe some slightly specific assignments, but the open-ended solutions, you're working on your own in a lot of, cases as far as your junior year is concerned. So if you have interests that are, individualized, for example, may have a junior who's interested more in the three-dimensional stuff. You may have a junior who's interested in, I don't know, painting or digital work or so forth. You'll have opportunities to explore those interests, and then we'll do everything we can to kind of help you with that. We do have a Photoshop course that we offer your junior year. So it's about photo editing and creating your own things using Photoshop. But we have, like right now, I'm in this gallery here where we had a critique the other day, and we had a senior who was showing a film that they made. So they're making movies. We have seniors and juniors who are creating digital work that needs to be, printed out on quality paper and displayed and so forth. And we have, folks doing all kinds of stuff. So yes, you will have a chance to explore digital work, and which is so broad. So I hope that digital world, as far as the art world, is so broad and expansive. Maybe I need to know specifically what they're talking about.
Okay, there's a follow-up. You're welcome to ask that follow-up question in the chat or verbally. There's another person that wants to know, do all the students have an exhibition every semester or every year, or is it just the older students?
It's a good question. We, from time to time, maybe not every year, maybe every 2 years, it depends. We'll have a student show. And so we'll try to get it. All the grades are generally represented in those exhibitions. Good question.
Okay. There's a question about, are the rules the same as at a public school, such as suspension or being expelled? Yes, they are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a certain skill level you're looking for? And I think I like that question, because what I hear the student asking is, for instance, by 7th and 8th grade, granted, your work may not be as advanced as a 9th or 10th grader. So can you talk about the level of skill you're looking for at each grade level, perhaps?
Sure. And that is a very good question. Okay, so what I was saying as far as, especially those 3 drawings, okay? Or any of the work that you submit, you want to do the absolute best you can. I mean, really spend some time with this work, because we are looking for clues, okay? We're not looking, the clues that we're looking for are not, we're not necessarily looking for these really polished works that look like someone professionally, created, like created by a professional, really highly skilled individuals. That would be nice, awesome. But we know that that's not realistic. But there are some things we're looking for. I can't necessarily describe them to you specifically, but we know when we see them. And so what I like to say is we're like forensic scientists. Okay, we go in and we examine the evidence, and that's the work that you're giving us. We're looking at this work, and then we can see these clues, and then we've gotten really good at finding those, and that's how we're making most of our decisions. Okay, so if you are a student who you're coming from a school with no or maybe little art, but you're drawing all the time, you're very passionate, and you're creating work, and there's something there, then we'll see it. We'll see it just like we'll see maybe a student who has passion and who's getting a lot of lessons, and they're taking art every semester at a school that offers a lot of art. And so it's not about how much experience you had before applying. It's more about, can we see that thing or those things that we're looking for that will tell us or give us a hint that things are going to be okay once we get you here. Okay, not to use that cliche, whatever, we're looking for clay that we can mold and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of like, that's what we're doing. Raw talent, raw ability, passion. Those are the things that we're looking for. Okay, so don't look at it like, oh, well, I haven't had a lot of art. I didn't take a lot of art, or I didn't do this, whatever. Ask yourself, are you passionate about your craft? Are you willing to put in the work that it's going to take to be in a place like this? And then apply. Don't talk yourself out of it, and don't let anyone else talk you out of it either. So just do it. I'm going to mention this, Geronda, because I did forget this at the last session. And if you apply to ASFA, in the art department, I can only speak for the art department, okay? And things don't work out, okay? You can give me a call or email me or whatever, and we can set up a meeting, and we can talk about the work, the portfolio, piece by piece, and talk about where things could have been better, what things were really good, and then to get you ready for the next time that you apply. We've had a lot of students not make it into our program, and had meetings with me after, and they reapplied, and they've been accepted and gone on to be some of the best students that we've had. And those are true stories. I'm not making it up. And so, yes, that's.
Someone wants to know, what time do the classes start? I think you may have already mentioned that, but again, our academic classes start at 8 a.m. and students will take at least 4 classes before lunch. One may be homeroom, one may be study hall, or something like that. And then after lunch, students will take perhaps 2 more academic classes until 1:45, and then that's when the academic day ends. And the specialty classes begin right around 1:45 as well. And as Mr. Hill mentioned, the 7th and 8th graders are dismissed at 3:12, and the 9th through 12th graders are dismissed at 4:40. So you spend the afternoon in your specialty classes, and you spend the morning in your academic classes. Another person wants to know, does the art department collaborate with other departments?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, we have. I mean, we are currently, our seniors, our visual arts seniors are currently working with the dancers here at ASPA, helping them with some visual projects to go alongside or with, or combine them with their dance projects and things like that. Yeah, we do. There is some collaboration between departments.
And then another question, this is something I was going to answer toward the end. When does the window for applications end? The application deadline is Friday, January 28th. That's the last Friday in January. So we ask that you submit your artwork by that time, that you also complete the online application with the 2 essay questions, as well as submitting the email addresses for your English teacher who will complete a recommendation form. If you have an art teacher, that's great. That person can also complete a recommendation form as long as you submit that person's email address. And then finally, the teacher of your choice. We would also like to see a copy of your report cards for 7th and 8th graders, or your transcript if you're in 9th or 10th grade. There's one other thing I want to mention before we start wrapping things up. We have something called student shadowing, where you can come and spend the day here and take both academic classes as well as the art classes here at ASPA. The way you would schedule a visit is just go to our website and look under admissions, and then scroll over to campus visits. And we'll be happy to arrange a time for you to come on campus and take the academic courses as well as the visual arts classes. What if you're not taking English at the time? Someone asked. Well, we'll need a recommendation from your most recent English teacher. So hopefully you had English within the last year, and you can have that teacher to submit a recommendation. Let's see if there are a few more questions before we end our session. Feel free to unmute yourself, or you may ask your question in the chat.
Hi, I'm asking this question on my daughter.
Okay.
Do we pay for all of her art supplies if she's accepted? Will we be paying for all of her, for all art supplies? Does the school provide any of those? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we provide a lot of the supplies. We like to think that if a student, well, first of all, if a student does need anything, we're gonna provide that. If anything that they can't get on their own, we're gonna provide that for them. That's something that I know we do a really good job with. We have a wonderful foundation that's a part of our school that helps with that kind of thing. And we're very, very fortunate to make that thing happen. But what's interesting about supplies is that, we found that in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grades, kids, the art supply store is where folks do their shopping for supplies. And then once they become juniors and seniors, Home Depot becomes the place. It's a weird thing. but it doesn't matter. We're able to help with supplies if you need them. And to reiterate, if I did mention it before, a lot of supplies are just, well, we supply a lot of the stuff, materials that kids need anyway.
And if I might add, there is a fee for each department, and I believe the 7th through 9th graders and 7th through 11th graders pay a $45 annual fee to be a part of the visual arts department. And then there's an overall enrollment fee that's about $200 for the entire school year as well. Okay. Someone said, I heard that there was either a semester or yearly fee. Okay, I just answered that one. Okay.
I had a question. So I might have to end up living in dorms and I take medicines.
Mhm.
How would y'all work with that? Because would y'all let me keep them in my room? I know y'all may not want to do that. So would y'all?
We have a school nurse on campus, and so the nurse is also our dorm director. So your parents will have an opportunity to talk with the school nurse / dorm director about any medication that you may need while you're here. And there is also a fee for the dormitory. The fee for the dormitory is $1,300 per semester or $2,600 for the entire school year. And that reminds me, I always like to know where people are joining us from. You don't have to state your name, but if anyone is joining us from outside of Birmingham, could you please list that in the chat, or you're welcome to just say it out loud so I can make a note of where people are joining us from. If you're outside of Birmingham, just let us know.
Hi, my name's Kathleen. I am from Shilton.
Shelton,
Mhm.
Alabama. Okay, is that North Alabama?
It's right next to Calera.
Okay, great, thank you. And someone wants to know how many pieces are required in the portfolio submission?
22 pieces. And so that's a good question. So with those 22 works, you want to make sure that you have at least 22, no less than that. That's not good. Okay. A lot of people, ask about maybe having way more than that. I say it's more about quality than quantity. So you just want to put your best stuff in the portfolio. Sure, you can go over 22 pieces, but that's not. I mean, if you're doing something like that as a strategy, that's not the way to go about it. It's more about the quality of the work. Good question.
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm coming from Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm wondering if you have like an exact amount of juniors that you take per year, because I'm applying for my 11th grade year.
Yeah, so that's a good question, and usually at these open houses, we usually have someone ask about the numbers and things like that. We don't use numbers as a way to as a gauge, as far as how many folks we let into our program or not. So I'm not going to be able to answer that question like that. But what I'll say is that if you're hearing something, that I'm saying, like we're looking for passionate students, we're looking for serious-minded folks, we're looking for people who are teachable and who's willing to kind of put in the work, okay? And if you think you're that person, I say apply, okay? It doesn't matter, like I said, whether, I said it's easier to get in the earlier grades. Do we accept juniors? Yes. There's no specific number. It's more about when we're looking at the work, when we interview you guys in the second part of the process, the audition process, we're looking at the portfolio. We're also interviewing you, and then you are doing an on-site drawing. When we look at all of that stuff to make our decision, that's the only thing that matters. And it's not about numbers, okay? The few juniors that we have accepted, they have also been very good stories, like, wow, like who saw that coming, I've been here long enough to see some really awesome stuff happen with students here in this program. And let's just say juniors that we've accepted, folks who didn't make it the first time, who made it into the program the second time, those people have been like on the top of the list when it comes to like great, really good stories to tell. And so, I would not talk yourself out of applying, and hopefully I'm not saying anything that will talk you guys out of applying to our program. And don't let the fact that, me saying that it's tough to get in as a junior make you decide not to do it.
Someone wants to know, is there a limit to how old the pieces of art can be that they submit?
That's a good question. You want to put your most recent stuff. I mean, just the fact of the matter is that the older the more you're always getting better. I mean, that's just the thing. And so, I mean, so the recent work is most likely going to be your best work.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, the application deadline is Friday, January 28th. If you have any questions before that time, you are welcome to email us. I believe my colleague, Katie Roach, placed both of our email addresses in the chat. Mr. Hill can be reached at dhill@astaschool.org. Do you have your email forwarded from astaschool.org, Mr. Hill, to your?
Oh, I use both.
You use both, great. And then if you have any questions about shadowing or any general admission questions, you're free to contact me at jlittle@astaschool.org. Did I hear someone ask a question? Okay. Well, this time we're going to end our session, but thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you all at our on-campus auditions in the spring. Have a good night.